We are back. Well, we're not back. We're actually starting a new, completely different meeting. It's a different institution. Welcome to the February 10th, 2026 City Council Work Session meeting. Our meetings are public, and you're welcome to join us in person or by watching from the Council agenda page through Zoom, YouTube, or SLC TV. We hope you continue to join us whichever manner you feel the most comfortable. This is a work session meeting during which there is not public comment. You can join us on February 17th during our 7 p.m. formal meeting to share your comments. We, of course, welcome your feedback anytime. You can send us mail at P.O. Box 145476, Salt Lake City, Utah 84114. You can also email us at council.comments@slc.gov or via 24-hour phone comment line, and you can leave us a message there at 801-535-7654. Comments we receive on agenda topics are shared with council members and posted on our website. You can visit that at slc.gov/council. Our first agenda item of the work session today is an informational item for Economic Development Revolving Loan Fund, and it's a review. Joining us on the table, Austin Kimmel, Council Policy Analyst, who's going to help us with a little explanation on the item, and then Lorena Rifo-Jensen, Director of Economic Development, Jacob Maxwell, Deputy Director of Economic Development, Peter Makowski, Assistant Director of Economic Development, and Colin Gibbs, Business Development Division Director.
Thanks, council members. Like you said, Economic Development is here to provide the council with an overview of the Economic Development Loan Fund, or EDLF. The program is designed to support Salt Lake City businesses, create jobs, and promote economic growth in the city by offering loans to local startup and existing businesses. This presentation will cover how the program works, its performance, and what assistance the department provides when a business may experience hardship or struggles to make its loan payments. We've reserved some time at the end of this presentation for questions, and with that, I will turn it over to Lorena and her team.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you so much for allowing us to come before you to provide you with an update on our Economic Development Loan Fund, known as the EDLF. This program has existed since the early 90s, and it's a great economic development tool that supports our small business community in Salt Lake City across districts. There are great stories about the businesses who are recipients of these loans, and Colin will actually get into that. Also, as a department, we feel strongly that we have a fiduciary duty to ensure these funds continue and that they're part of the city. In other words, we want to ensure that this tool continues for generations to come. Therefore, we have some strategies today that Colin will outline to ensure that this tool continues to be a great program for Salt Lake City small businesses. And with that, I will turn the time to Colin Gibbs, who is our division director, and this is his first presentation in front of you, not to put you on the spot. And Peter Makowski, and both of us are here to answer any questions you may have at the end. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Colin Gibbs, Director of Business Development. So I wanted to start today with an overview of the fund, give you a brief history, and then move on to our application process and how we deal with potential defaults and other delinquencies that may occur. Next slide, please. So the Economic Development Loan Fund started its life in 1991 as the Revolving Loan Fund. In 2014, it was renamed the Economic Development Loan Fund, or EDLF. It is designed to promote economic growth in Salt Lake City and business ownership as well. Presently, we have 27 active loans, and we began managing the fund in 2019. Next slide, please. Here you can see a list of all our borrowers since inception. Looking through the list, you might find maybe your favorite watering hole, restaurant, or bakery. We have a lot of fabulous borrowers that we work with and that we interact with daily. Next slide, please. So since 2011, we've dispersed 65 loans, totaling about $9.5 million. Of those 65, 44 have paid off. Since 2020, 30 loans have been dispersed, and the total there is $5.2 million and change. Next slide. Here you can see a breakdown of our disbursements and receivables over the last 3 years. So year to date, we have dispersed $3.1 million. And as of December of this year, we have received almost $2.9 million. So as you can see, in the last 3 years, we are on track to maintaining the revolving nature of this fund and keeping it healthy moving forward. You'll see listed here on the right, there's an interest allocation line item. That is interest received from our loan loss reserve, which are funds that we set aside that accrue interest to utilize in case we do have an issue with default or delinquency with our current loans. Next slide. So a bit about our application process. We do quarterly openings for application on a first-come, first-served basis. Currently, we are limiting our applicants to 10 applicants per quarter. This allows us to track and manage the funds as they go out, also to assess the applicants as they come in and identify if there are any issues that they might have with their application process, if they're actually prepared to go through. And this gives us a good opportunity to aid them in that application process, or perhaps provide them with other resources to enhance their education. Loan amounts. So for startup businesses, which we define as less than 3 years in operation, our maximum amount is $100,000. Existing businesses who have been in business for 3 years or more can potentially take out up to $350,000. And the terms on these loans are 7 years. Next slide, please. So with our loans, we have an interest rate. We pin to the prime rate. As of December, it was 6.75%. And then by our resolution, the maximum interest rate shall not exceed 8 percent points above prime. In reality, our average is around 4% plus prime.
Yeah.
And we do the rate reductions for borrowers if they meet certain citywide objectives. That could be business location in a priority area of the city, in an RDA project area, if they're involved in other city programs like energy efficiency, or if the business is owned by a disadvantaged group. That could be women-owned, disabled, minorities, or low to moderate income or veterans. And then furthermore, our loan committee may adjust the percentage rate up or down 1.5 percentage points depending on what they see fit. Next slide, please. So unfortunately, as with business in general, delinquency and default does occur. It is our goal to maintain the solvency of the business while maintaining our fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayer who provides the loan funds. In doing so, we make every attempt to connect with the borrower, to understand their certain situation, and to basically build a plan of how we can make restoration of payments, or perhaps offer a deferment or alter some other payment plan. And then we make contact with them throughout the process. Next slide. So as is current practice, we offer a 15-day grace period with our monthly payments. After that date, if we do have some type of delinquency, we will make contact with the borrower to set up some type of plan. If we are unsuccessful, then we will take other measures. We send out notices, we make phone calls. If there is an issue, then we, as outlined in our administrative rules, we have other tools, small claims court, repossession of collateral, or other legal matters. We do everything in our power not to get to that point, but those are avenues we can take if necessary. Next slide. So we do have tools in our administrative rules. Our department can grant temporary forbearance up to 1 year. We also have the ability to waive late fees if there's an extenuating circumstance or something that warrants that. The loan committee additionally may offer forbearance or lower payments for anything more than a year. Also, if there is some reamortization of the loan that needs to happen to extend it past the 7 years, the loan committee makes that decision. Our technical assistance program for businesses is another great tool that we can utilize prior to delinquency or after the fact, but I think it's a great tool to mitigate issues before they arise. Once again, if a borrower is non-responsive or continues to be delinquent, then the city may have to proceed in a legal fashion. Next slide. So our Business Technical Assistance Program is a critical skills program that we develop with other third-party community organizations. The Suazo Center, SBDC are a few of note. On a case-by-case basis, we have required both applicants and borrowers to reach out to one of these outside programs to take a critical skills course, which may include marketing, business strategy, basics of accounting and operations, so that they can further enhance their skill set, either to fix their cash flow issues, marketing, or perhaps if they're going through the application process and they don't quite know how to write a business plan, this is a great resource for them to learn those skills. Next slide. Another tool is borrower reporting. So we ask borrowers to reach out to us and offer their financial statements on an ongoing basis. This is designed to help build a relationship and regular communication with our borrowers, really build that rapport, help us be seen as someone who can assist them in their business endeavors. But it also allows us to identify who might be struggling early on so that we might intervene with a technical assistance program or other measure before they get to delinquency or default. And next slide. That's all I have. Thank you for having me present before you today.
Councilmembers, Councilmember Dugan.
Sure, appreciate that, and appreciate the program. I think it's valuable for the city. A couple from the policy side of the house is we have defaults. That's the nature of the business. What's your percentage of defaults and the recovery rate or the collection rate on those defaults, and the lessons learned from those defaults for future programs? Because I think, so yeah, we'll stop right there for first question.
So currently we have 2 loans in default of the 27 active loans that we have. We do have 21 that are currently active in good standing. And then we have others that have either paid off or been moved to collections in some form or fashion to lower that monthly payment that they're paying and put them on track for success there.
Okay, so and the up to 20, the earlier, on the left-hand side of the column, you had 65 loans, 40 have been paid off. You had 20, so 25 of those loans are still being paid off at this time. They're just going through different, because they're basically a 7-year loan, and that's more than 7 years. So they're still in the payoff process
Correct.
through mechanisms. Okay. And as far as the initial investment in the EDLF, have we had to add more money, or is it just because it's revolving, or it seemed like we're self-funded?
Correct.
It's self-funded.
So, and it's working well and staying really positive as far as plenty of money in the bank to keep on loaning.
That's correct, Councilmember Dugan. I just wanted to also add that I need to recognize our Department of Finance. When we say collections, we're not talking in terms of an outside collection agency, but rather it's internally. So they're doing a fantastic job, and they're doing it with a lot of respect for our businesses. So I just wanted to make sure that we're not dealing with anyone that's heavy-handed in any way.
All right, thank you very much for saying that, because I realized it was inside, but I'm glad you
Yes.
mentioned that, so appreciate that.
Councilmember, yes. Go ahead, Victoria.
How does that default rate compare with other more commercial lenders where I imagine everyone factors in defaults? It's a natural part of lending. Are we on track? Are we ahead?
Go ahead, Peter. You
So
worked
industry
with the loan
standard is
funds
around
before.
10% for traditional financing. We're below that.
I love that.
Yeah, we tend to be, a little more flexible and workable with our borrowers to again keep us from going into those default areas, but we do have a very low default rate.
I love that. And then when was the last time we evaluated those amounts? Is $100,000 what it used to be for commercial? I mean, commercial ovens in restaurants, like I have a friend opening a restaurant and it's just,
Oh, yeah, expensive.
so are we still able to really have the impact that we used to, or do we need to reevaluate those amounts and make them more commensurate with the inflationary pressures that our entrepreneurs are experiencing?
If I could add, and then I would say it would be probably a good time for us to do some research and analysis. You're absolutely right, Councilmember Petro, that cost to just put a kitchen in they keep
And
going
for
up.
one commercial thing with
Yes.
$100,000.
Yes, completely. I would say right now, because of the economy and the state of the economy, we probably need to do the research and then consider if we want to increase that, because we don't want business owners to borrow more money and then not be able to pay it back.
I love that.
And restaurants right now are hurting. So that's, we're trying to play that fine balance of being supportive and at the same time ensuring that they're only borrowing what they need.
Thank you.
Councilmember Young.
So just two quick future requests for data points, not an emergency for today. One is I would love to know the average length of time that businesses have been in business here in Salt Lake that have been recipients of the fund, and just how that compares and contrasts with like the traditional turnover that we see in the city. To me, this is one of the key parts of this solution, is the fact that it's helping people stay here in the city. And I just think it would be a helpful data point, to be able to share more broadly in terms of the benefits of the program. The second one that I would be interested in is more so related to if they were borrowing at a traditional cost versus the cost of the loan offered by the city. Like, what is that aggregate savings ratings across the entire, like the history of the program. And I appreciate that rate changes, so I'm not looking for like a month by month analysis. But even if we could do like averaged on an individual fiscal year, like what was the rate, you know, in a business setting versus what is the rate being offered by Salt Lake City, and how much does that save our local businesses? To me, again, that's something to promote as an outcome of a city program that speaks to the efforts that are being made by your team to be able to support small business in the area.
Okay. We're happy to bring that back. Thank you.
Councilmember Carlson.
A couple questions. I'm curious if you've ever considered refinancing as a permissible use of these funds. And the reason I bring it up is we've seen some stories in our city of historic entities, historic restaurants in our neighborhoods that have felt crushed under the weight of loans they've either taken on or credit card debt of various kinds. And I'm wondering, would you ever explore refinancing as a permissible use of this capital?
I would say the short answer to that is yes, we have looked at it. We probably need to do additional research, and I think mainly right now, what we're seeing, because at one point, our loans were 11%, just even recently within the last 2 years, and because of that interest rate being so high, we're a lender of last resort. Mm-hmm. Therefore, we're not competing with financial institutions. And yet, maybe 11% would have been better than 29%. So I think we probably need to look at it. I will tell you that in talking to other entities that do provide, SWASA provides microloans, $50,000, $25,000. A lot of entities shy away from doing that just because it's very risky. Mm-hmm. However, we're happy to look at it and bring it back so you can consider it.
Thank you. And then, as a connected to that, I'm wondering as you think about the citywide or economic development objectives, and I think these are really important objectives to prioritize. If you've ever considered additional points or scoring an application more favorably if it's a historic business. I'm thinking about some of our historic entities that have been around 10, 15, 20 years, and they've been critical to neighborhoods, but now they're just feeling the squeeze that so many other small businesses are feeling right now.
I don't think we have, but I think that's something that can be considered. And when we come back and present on the other issues, we can definitely bring that back.
I want to first thank you and your team for the incredible amount of work that you guys do to like service these loans and help, you know, the process of the applications, and it really, the impact is it's huge, and I felt like I said that a lot today, but like the programs and the things that we like been exposed today were like meaningful and make a big difference in our city, and the small businesses are the blood of our city, and it really is key to the success of what we're doing here. So I really do appreciate DLF and what it is doing. One of the questions I have, and it's usually is not, and I'm going to preface it like this, is usually not to ask your department to do more with the same amount of money. So, you know, I'm like seeking some advice, you know, from your experience, your team's experience. There are areas of our city that people have been having a hard time renting, right? Lots of new spaces that we know that are going to be needed, but at the moment they cannot be penciled out, you know, for multiple reasons. Maybe the finishes, like Councilmember Petro mentioned, to a kitchen is very expensive, but you know, otherwise the analysis will say that a restaurant will kill it, but no one has the money to make that happen. Or there's a need for like a Main Street for some key restaurants or key businesses in some other blocks to like bring a little more life to the area. Has the department considered some more targeted And I will also throw in North Temple in there because but I'm sure that all of us have 4 South, like Main Street, other pieces of the city that we feel very strongly about. But empty storefronts are, a struggle. And I'm not, know that we need to solve all the problems of the city, right? Like there's the owners of the properties also need to come play ball if they want, really, they're interested in renting those spaces, or they just want to sit on the land. But I would love to pick your brain and your departments about what this could look like.
That's an excellent question. Often small businesses, that may be doing something from home eventually, maybe they have a food truck, and then eventually they want to move to a location. One of the things that we did, and you mentioned North Temple, Councilmember Pui, and you both participated, and we appreciated your time on the North Temple Economic Action Plan. One of the recommendations was to see if the Community Reinvestment Act could become a master leaseholder. They were at the table with us, and I think they're going to be launching that program because they're not here, so I also want to be respectful to the fact that they're not here. And yet, I think that was one of the solutions that came out of that study. Basically, if the CRA, and jump in at any point, Peter, if they're the master leaseholder, then there'll be funds available for the space. So I think that conversation needs to continue. I think what I'm seeing in some of the projects that are community and neighborhoods, they're including a space for small businesses, and that has to continue because that is definitely a need, and the small businesses cannot afford often what your commercial real estate is charging right now. Peter, do you have anything else you want to add to that?
Not much to add. You actually, I thought, described that perfectly. But yeah, we've been in discussions with the CRA about possible programs to offset these costs and continue those conversations. And we agree that is a massive need in the city.
Thank you. And I remember one of the trips that we did to, I believe it was Cincinnati, but I'm not remembering correctly. It might be a different city. This was one of the ideas that came from, and we've been talking a lot to CRA about this. But ultimately, from the loan perspective, could the department maybe hyper focus on a specific area of the city? Know that this is first come, first serve, but I wonder if there is a need for a more hyper targeting, just to make some of that more available in a specific area to help flourish some of these businesses. Certainly, this is an administrative piece, but I wonder if there is some interest on that, especially for areas like that we are always trying to inject life that so well deserved, like the historic Main Street that we have.
Yeah, I have to say that the short answer is yes, we want to do more. One of the things that we've done as a team is ensure that we're part of some of the groups, like the River District. Jake serves on that board. Neighbor Works, he serves, I believe, Colin, you serve on that board. Peter used to serve on that board before. So we try to make sure that we are going to the business community and we're going to them in their space. And often what we do is ask if we can come and present. And our work has to be done where our business nodes are located. We can't expect them to come to us. We have to go to them.
Thank you for that. I really, I started that comment. Thank you and your team for the work that you guys do, and I'm very excited to see more of it. Which that's a conversation for a later meeting. So thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. I want to make sure that I didn't misrepresent anything in terms of the CRA, because they've done a great work working with us. So.
I appreciate you bringing it up because that's a good question. We've been working with them a long time. You have too, so I'm excited to hear when they're ready for that.
Okay, thank you so much.
Council members, I'm going to move some of the items around. I'm going to go to item number 2 instead. This is to discuss an ordinance for the temporary street closure for Temple Square for 2027 Temple reopening. At the table, Nick Tarvet, Council Deputy Director, will join us, and Tammy Hunsaker, the Director of Community and Neighborhoods, will join us. Juan Becerra from the LDS Church will be available for any questions if those are here. Okay, Nick, your time.
I'll turn the time quickly over to Tammy to introduce it, but just let you know that this is obviously an item of high interest for lots of constituents. The council office has already received a lot of emails asking questions. So we're keeping track of that, and we will be coordinating closely with the administration on a project page where we can have a FAQ list so that people can go and get information on this, since it will be a great opportunity and have some significant disruptions for a while. Tammy?
Thank you, Nick. Good afternoon. As Nick mentioned, in consultation with the city's transportation division, police and fire, we have been evaluating a request from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to temporarily close portions of a few different downtown streets to support the temple reopening celebration. We have been collaborating closely not only with internal city divisions, but also with UDOT and UTA to ensure that the event is planned in a successful way as far as transportation flow goes. The streets that would be fully closed include North Temple from Main Street to West Temple, West Temple from North Temple to South Temple. There would be partial lane closures on South Temple from Main Street to West Temple. The bus lane, North Temple from 200 West to West Temple, all of the eastbound lanes, and West Temple from 200 North to North Temple, one northbound lane. So there should be a map that can be displayed that will depict these proposed street closures. On the map, the areas highlighted in red would actually be closed off for exclusive use for the event. It would still be open to the public, but it would be fenced off and there would be secured checkpoints for access. So the city would execute a lease of the right-of-way for the areas outlined in red. And then there would be traffic control closures for the areas outlined in yellow with barrels, traffic control barricades. The closures would last between, the outside dates would be March 2027 through October 2027. The dates might be a little bit shorter than that. The church is still working out the final dates of the closure and would need some setup time and planning time. But the approval before you has the maximum dates of the beginning of March through the end of October. The event is expected to bring millions of visitors to Salt Lake City. The church is estimating between 22,000 and 29,000 people per day. So it's pretty much the equivalent of General Conference every day for about 6 months. So as you can imagine, this will have impacts with crowd control and safety for our downtown. So there is actually a state statute that requires that the city council adopt an ordinance approving any street closure for non-construction purposes. And there are noticing requirements and a public hearing that must go along with that city council action. So that is what is being considered before the city council now. So the state statute points to safety purposes as a valid reason for a municipality to close right-of-way, and we believe that it is necessary to manage heavy crowds, reduce traffic congestion, and protect the safety of visitors and pedestrians within the downtown area. So the administration believes that this is a valid public safety consideration before you. The city has closed streets before. Operation Rio Grande was one of them. The 2002 Olympics was another large event that the city had that was similar to this. So with the closure, there are several city ordinances that are triggered. The fenced area that is outlined in red that would have a fence for the event closure, that would be facilitated through the execution of a lease through the Real Estate Services Division within CAN. And so there would be typical lease revenue for the fair market value for the use of city-owned property. And then there would also be traffic control permits and fees collected for bagged meters that would also be assessed. So we're estimating, it would be based on the next year's consolidated fee schedule, but we're estimating the revenue that would come to the city, to the general fund, would be around 2.3 million for these closures. So it would be the standard CFS fees and fair market value for use of the property. We are obviously very concerned about traffic flow and pedestrian safety. So we've been collaborating really well with the church and with UDOT and UTA. So with these closures, we're looking to our transportation partners and the church to work with us and to do detour signage, develop a communication plan to notify the public of closures and to where alternate routes will be, working with UDOT to potentially even retime signals on other routes to make traffic flow better. The church is working with UTA on transit access. So we are, and it's still in the beginning phases because the event is in 2027, so it's a ways off, but we will continue to work with partners and the church to make the impacts to transportation as minimal as possible. So I believe there's a public hearing next week.
March 10th.
Oh, March 10th.
It's March
Okay.
10th.
Excuse me, March 10th.
Yeah.
And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. We also have Lynn Jacobs, the city's new Transportation Division Director here, and Logan Hunt.
So I think there may be some questions from the council members. Maybe let's try to be as efficient as possible. If we can frame the questions to city staff first, maybe if possible, to try to I'm looking at you now. So then we make it the most efficient, and then we can invite our guests here to help us out with other questions that may arise.
And I should mention, we also have a representative from the church here, and I also failed to mention that the church has also been collaborating with police and fire, so there will be a public safety plan that goes along with the event.
That's awesome. Councilmember Warden.
Okay. I'm excited about this as the council member whose area Temple Square is in, or whose district. It's the top tourist destination in Utah. I love having it in my district, and I'm really excited about the opportunities for 2027. I live just 7 blocks away from Temple Square, and I drive past it every day. Whether I'm going to work or the grocery store or to City Hall. So I'm really familiar with the existing traffic problems and what the closures would mean for me and my neighbors. A lot of them have already reached out to me, including several people who made sure to point out that they are members of the LDS Church, encouraging me to vote against it. I understand where those concerns are coming from, because the neighborhood's been at the center of a lot of traffic and construction snarls already, and we've got some that are just starting. But at the same time, from a public safety standpoint, I don't see how any downtown city block could accommodate a stream of 22,000 visitors a day for 6 months without closures. So I'm trying to frame my questions within those boundaries that have come mostly from residents. But I am really looking forward to reopening this uniquely Salt Lake landmark. So the first one is, in a major emergency in the area, and like Capitol Hill, how would the road closures impact the residents' ability to either evacuate the area or to have emergency responders come into the area?
That is a great question. I think, and if this already hasn't been done, I think we can talk to police and fire about not only planning for an emergency within the event area, but also the surrounding neighborhoods. I don't want to speak for police and fire, and I haven't been in those discussions, but police and fire, from my understanding, do feel that the closures will actually help facilitate emergency preparedness for accommodating this many people in the downtown area for that extended period of time. So I know they're thinking critically about access to the event and emergency services, accessing the event and managing the event. So I can reach out to them and ask about access to the surrounding neighborhoods, because I think that definitely will be part of the conversation between police, fire, and our own transportation division and UDOT, ensuring that there will be clear access routes. One of the priorities is for all parties involved is to have detour routes and the like free flow traffic routes clearly available and noticed to the public. And like I said, we're even looking at changing UDOT's and the city's traffic timing of signals to be able to facilitate the throughput of the corridors that we're trying to reroute people to in a more efficient manner.
Okay.
So I don't have a complete answer for you right now, but that definitely should be a consideration as we plan emergency management and traffic flow moving forward.
That's fine. And I should say too, for any of these, I'm not expecting a complete answer at this point. I just more kind of want to get the questions out there so that you know what I'm hearing the most.
And council member, this is helpful because we've already started an FAQ that is on our website, and we can definitely add these questions and provide more thorough answers to the public.
Great. Another one is that just that there's already some choke points in there for traffic. And there's also I think some of the scarier pedestrian interactions on some of those, like the turns from State Street onto South Temple. And, I drive that intersection a couple times a week. I feel like I see multiple near misses. So I'm just worried about making sure that those crosswalks that are adjacent to the closures, because I assume there's going to be a lot more people coming through those crosswalks as well. I want to make sure that they are also safe. Okay, West High. So all the students that live in the avenues that go to West, they're already kind of having to compete with all of the traffic coming from Davis County to downtown and to the university. I wonder if there's going to be, how are we going to route those individuals and make sure that we clearly communicate that to students and parents, like this is the preferred route that we would like you to take to get to West High.
Council member, if you want some thoughts from Lynn Jacobs, because he's now the director, but he's been the city's traffic engineer for quite some time. So I don't know if you have any thoughts, Lynn. And I should add that as we've been coordinating with the church and transportation partners, we've also been looking at private development projects that are planned to be occurring around that time frame, like SEG and other projects that could impact the right-of-way. So we're trying to look at the status of the situation from several different fronts, including the private development. But do you have any thoughts on South Temple, State Street, or West High?
Yeah, absolutely, if you don't mind me sharing. And obviously, this is still all very much up in the air. It's about a year away from now. We've been working closely. The church hired an engineering consultant to help us look at a lot of this. And then UDOT, UTA, and us, we've been meeting regularly to try to figure out how to make all this work. And we still have details to work through, but we're getting some pretty good traction on some ideas. Mm-hmm. Some of the existing choke points that you mentioned, like at South Temple and State Street, I mean, there's a pretty big queue that backs up all the way to the roundabout. Mm-hmm. That's definitely been on our radar with UDOT. We're talking about how to fix that, not only for this event, but permanently.
Yeah.
And we have some good ideas there.
Okay, good. I mean, that's one thing that I am really worried about because so many people cut through that are coming, come down State Street, go through the roundabout. And I feel like what's going to happen is people from the avenues are going to go up State Street and try to turn onto like Second North. And there's that is just not an intersection where you want people to turn.
No.
Ever.
It is not.
And
Completely agreed.
if one person tries to do it and I just feel like that entire thing is going to become a huge problem. So I don't know what the preferred route is, but if we can communicate that and I'll help communicate that as much as I can too. That goes into my next question, which is that West High is, they've started construction. We're going to be in the thick of it. Do we know if West High's construction is anticipating any road closures for their construction that would be at the same time as this one?
Yeah, they are. I've got a meeting set up with them to discuss that already. But that's a really good comment. And I think your concerns about West High students getting there is incredibly valid. It's really helpful. And this is actually really good timing for us because we're working through all of this with the team. And I think, council member, if you can continue to provide us concerns like this, it will really help us to know how to message, who to message to, how to address all these issues.
Similarly, do we know if there's going to be any lane closures for the construction happening at Delta Center and Third West and the Culture and Convention District that would also be simultaneous to this?
Also on our radar, we've been meeting with UDOT about that, and UDOT is very aware of this pending closure and what impact it may have on their ability to use North Temple or West Temple or South Temple as detour routes during their construction project. And so definitely part of the conversation we're all having together. West High's construction as well is on our radar.
Okay. And then biking, hope we'll have we put a lot of investment in bike lanes on North and South Temple. I want to make sure that when we're detouring traffic that there's a safe bike option because I think, we've encouraged people to bike through that area and I don't want to make it unsafe for them for 6 months.
I don't think we'll allow biking on North Temple during this time, but South Temple should still be able to accommodate bike lanes.
Okay.
There shows a temporary closure of the lane on South Temple. It's the trap right lane and the bike lane's next to it. So we should be able to keep bikes safe on South Temple.
Okay. Sorry, I only have 2 more questions.
Yep. Keep going.
Okay. The parking. So when it's general conference, I mentioned I live 7 blocks away. The parking gets all the way to my house. So I'm just worried about how, the neighborhood finds a way to get through those weekends, but it's going to be 6 months of that. I just want to make sure that residents' parking will be prioritized because most of these houses in this area don't have dedicated driveways. So they rely on on-street parking. I want to make sure people can get in and out of their houses.
Council member, one point on that, to reduce the number of cars coming downtown, the church is offering free UTA transit passes for celebration ticket holders and also free transit for employees.
Great.
And I would add that the church is looking at some really great ideas in terms of how to manage the number of people coming in. They haven't finalized those details yet, so we're not ready to share them, but they have some really great plans in place that they'll be ready to share in time.
Yeah. And I really appreciate that. I know that every general conference, the church really encourages people to take public transit or to ride share. Those efforts are very much appreciated. And I assumed that was part of the plan as well, but I just wanted to raise the parking issue. And then my last one is connected to that with existing transit routes. Do we know yet where we're going to?
We're still working on those details as well, but we absolutely, UTA is aware of the closure and they're planning those detour routes. So that's in the works. For one last point on parking, we've connected with Urban Services Division and Parking Compliance, and they're ready to provide a little more additional enforcement to that area during the event, just to help.
Yeah, and maybe like, I don't know if we need additional signage or things like that too.
We'll definitely be willing to look at that.
So anyway, overall though, we want to welcome everybody, and I want to make sure that we're not, walling off like other parts of the city, because while we're expecting a lot of folks coming, for the who are the faithful who are coming, we also want to keep downtown open. We're going to have restaurants reopening on Main Street that we helped bring back. There might not be a lot of crossover on the clientele there, but maybe more than we know. But we want to make sure it's welcoming for everybody. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And thank you to the church team for being here as well. It's good to see you both.
Councilmember Young.
Great, thank you. I just want to say I am the first to have empathy for long-term construction in key business areas as it exists, and we experience for 2100 South and Sugar House. I can also say that the commitment of the city to being a part of this celebration and being excited about the fact that we're not just welcoming individuals from across the state and across our sister states, but really, from all parts of the world to be able to celebrate like this opportunity, I just think is such an amazing opportunity. And, it certainly is going to come with its pressure points. And I think, being here today and having the conversation ahead of time about what are the street closures, what are the mitigation strategies, what are the safety needs, and how we're doing that in partnership and as part of an ongoing communication and dialogue, to me gives me a lot of faith in the efforts on all behalves to be able to make this a successful event. I certainly want to see it be successful, and I think that the success is not just in celebration of this monumental achievement, but also has a real opportunity to benefit our businesses in Salt Lake City. And so I just wanted to express that optimism as part of this process and appreciation for all parties involved in terms of trying to be proactive about creating a solution that is going to work best for everyone.
Councilmember Dugan.
Thank you, and appreciate Councilman Wharton's questions, because I'm kind of just jumping on top of that. Councilman Wharton talked about crosswalks adjacent to the North Temple Square, but I'm thinking of just, for an hour before a Jazz game, 1,700 fans, there's a lot of intersections that are impacted. These fans, these 22,000 are not going into a building and leaving 3 hours later. They're going into an area and they're hanging out there, and then more people coming in. And so these intersections are always going to be dangerous and safety hazards. So the police need to look at it more than just 1 or 2 blocks, but across the way. And also on the transportation side of the house, maybe it's more for UTA, and I know you probably already talking about this. Thank you for the passes. That's awesome. What about passes for the additional people that now need to take a bus or tracks because they just can't get across town with a car? Additional buses too, and additional bus routes, shuttle vans from wherever they're parked before. They're parking out at Fair Park and they're driving in, so that we restrict the number of cars in the downtown area to those that are just maybe live there, and not those who are coming to visit the temple, because the temple area should be just for the people. The cars should just be for the locals. So almost like, hey, this is a no drive zone unless you are a emergency or a resident, and everybody else, you got to pay a hefty fine, or you park everywhere and we'll get you a golf cart. So look at more than just having people park in the streets or parking Chris in Ava's neighborhoods or even the ballpark. So please take a look at that. Thanks.
Councilmember Petro.
So I have reverse flow concerns from Councilmember Wharton. So a large portion of our middle schoolers are districted to Bryant Middle School, meaning that we will go from 500, 600 north to South Temple and 800 East. My own son did it, and I made that trek, and even just with the construction traffic. North Temple was impassable at the time. South Temple is not a practical road if you're trying to move more than a block every 20 minutes. First South does not go all the way through. Second South was under construction, has been reduced to 1 lane. Third South has been reduced by bike lanes. Fourth South is the first one that is our only exit option until 13 South when we're coming from the north on the highway, and is a main thoroughfare, which last time I checked, we're expecting some construction on 400 South as well. Getting down to 600 South, which would be the most logical one, will be free flowing, but I have to go down to 600 South from 700 North to get to South Temple and 800 East. If my kid is sick, if I am a shift worker who only has an hour to go see my kid's band concert, we're asking for a lot of sacrifices. Now, these are summer months, so it's not going to be applicable to everyone, but I do have a reverse concern. Additionally, I think my people will, I do this, so I'm pretty sure they do. We go up to the Capitol and then down through state. And when state gets too busy, we like to go down Main and cut across. I think we should have lights on state, or we should actually put some temporary median so people can't turn. We are asking for all sorts of confusion, but we either decide that state stays a straight thoroughfare from the roundabout all the way down, or we put temporary lights there. I'm really, really concerned about that route, but I'll talk to the church later about ways to support my community. I have a lot of people who work at the hospitals in support roles. They don't have dedicated parking, and they're not the surgeons. As you might imagine, Rose Park isn't the home of the surgeons. We're the home of the people who check you in and make sure things are sanitary. And this, I love that I live in Salt Lake City, because this unique part of American history is really fantastic, and it makes us distinctive. I love that. I am not trying to denigrate, but I also want to make sure that my neighbors who are blue collar, who are already under stress, who already are making great sacrifices because of the east-west divisions, don't have further exacerbation of those issues. So my biggest concern is State Street and just east-west connectivity, literally 4th South if it's not under construction, or 6th South. That's a lot of miles we're asking people to put on their cars. That's a lot of extra gas and time we're asking people to add to their day to navigate basic routes. So I have ideas for support communally that I'll propose to the church, because you're uniquely positioned for that. But I would like for us, as we consider flow, to consider that. I also want to advocate, and I'm going to abjectly ask for it. I think that Marmalade and Capitol Hill should be nothing but permitted parking for this whole time. I love the people who are coming, but our priority has to be our constituents at some point, because it's 6 months. So I'm going to put that on the record.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember Wharton.
Hi, sorry, don't mean to come back to me. I know I took a long time, but thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the excitement too. I want to make sure that I'm showing that excitement along with that stress. Yeah, and I'm also open to any other creative solutions we can come up with. Maybe some zip lines across City Creek Canyon, or maybe it's just a complaint, 24-hour complaint line. Me and Juan take turns fielding those calls. But anything that I can do to help support this and make sure it's a success, I'm committed to doing. And so thank you again for being here.
Thank you. No, we're cut up. I just want to make sure that everybody got their questions out. One of the, you make me think about this, Councilmember Wharton, about the public utilities work. Last thing I want is some of those gas pipes popping up, or some other infrastructure, maybe city-wise, or other utility work popping up any place near this, or that could also interrupt the flow of traffic on top of that, because that will exacerbate all the problems that we may see while we're trying to mitigate it. By the way, I counted how far away I live from Temple Square, and it's 8 blocks. So I'm a block away from it too. I drive by this area a lot, and I know some of the challenges as far as flow goes, and especially when there are events. I would love to to ask some questions directly to the representatives from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And maybe if any of you have any other questions, we can ask directly. And is that okay? One of you or both of you, or welcome to join us at the table. Any council members, any questions so far? Okay. I'm going to ask a few questions, and maybe maybe you guys do you guys have a presentation or have anything that you want to start with?
Yep.
Yes, say your name for the record.
My name is Marty Stevens. I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Juan Becerra and I work together. He's the Director of Community Relations in our department. We were told that we didn't need to have a presentation for this meeting. We have a few comments that I think might be helpful, but I don't know how you are time-wise, or if you just want to do specific questions.
Those brief comments might actually answer some of those questions, so
Okay.
maybe we save some time.
Let me
that
just
way.
share a couple of things with you quickly that I think will be of help. Let me just do it this way. We're very excited about this. It's been 130 years since the public has been able to go into the Salt Lake Temple. It was dedicated in 1893. When we started this process, we didn't want the church to just come and say, here's the plan. So we got with the city. We've been working with Tammy and the mayor and the mayor's team and the chief of police and Chief Lieb and the fire department, with UDOT, with UTA. And I think this is as Tammy has mentioned, this is a plan that we've worked on and come up with together that solves the problems. A number of things in this plan are not things we asked for, but the city felt like these were more important, or as important as some of the things we did ask for. So I want to tell you two or three things that the church is committed to do to show goodwill in this. One was mentioned that we're going to be leasing these roads under the standard contract. We think that the number will be north of $2.3 million that we'll be paying the city during this period. In addition to that, we've met with the police chief, and they're working on estimates of what it's going to cost to provide additional protection during this period. And the church has agreed to pay for that, the costs of that additional protection as well, so there wouldn't be any additional cost to the city. We talked about transportation issues. We're concerned about that as well. We have a plan that we're working on implementing. Right now, most of our employees work 8 to 5. We have about 10,000 people downtown. We're working on a plan which would have a 7 to 4, 8 to 5, and a 9 to 6 phase. So all the traffic isn't coming downtown at the same time, that it's going to be spaced out during the day. We are going to provide free transit for all of our people during this period. So for Front Runner, Trax, and the bus service, encourage as many of them to ride that as possible. We also are going to be doing some remote work. We're trying to get up to, we haven't tied this number down, so don't hold me to this yet, but we're trying to get up to about 25% of that number off campus during that period. And then finally, we have leased a piece of property out on North Temple that we're going to make a park and ride. And we're going to have bus service that will be going from that parking lot up to the area, like the map's not still up there, but it's the area that would be on the west side of the parcel. And they're very nice buses. There aren't going to be school buses. They're going to be nice white wrapped buses, and they'll be happening frequently, so people will want to use those. And it will be very easy for people to just get off the freeway to go down to that park and ride lot and then take the bus into downtown. It'll just come up to North Temple and drop them off right about 2nd West is where it'll turn into that area. And then they'll be able to pick it up there to leave, and the main entrance will be right there. We want to be good neighbors in this. We plan to have a special open house before the public open house for all of the neighbors that have been impacted by these years of construction. I actually live 2 blocks from Temple Square. I'm one of those. Chris is my council member. We live in Zion Summit, and we love living downtown. But the church is happy to work with the city in any way we can to make this a fun event. It's going to bring, as you can understand, millions of dollars of revenue to downtown businesses. And it's going to bring great publicity for the city as people have a chance to experience Salt Lake in a different light. So happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you. You answered several of them already. So, the spacing out of the hours, I think that I had that question because, if it happens, if it's every day, all the time, much like, when General Conference, finishes, we might see riots from our neighbors. None of us want to see any of that. So I'm glad that you are thinking about it ahead of time and that you are engaging with all these partners. I was personally interested in that flow in and out, so that helps, reassure the neighbors that we're going to have a good plan. A few years ago, we had the NBA All-Stars event in Salt Lake, and UTA was able to negotiate a partnership with the organizers for zero fare days from UTA. And if the NBA can do it, I believe we can do something similar here too, where we can actually make encourage people by removing that barrier. When you mentioned that park and ride plan, hopefully many of them park over there and take tracks, right? And that will be a win-win too, also for your system. Yeah. So I hope that you look at that route as well. We for years been trying to get to a place where other agencies see the value of a safe public transportation that is available to anyone. So I hope that you look at that route as well. I think that will be a win-win, not only for those that are attending the event, which and personally, and it was shared here, I'm committed personally to make sure it's a success. I'm excited for it myself. But this could be a meaningful thing for probably thousands of people across the state as well, which I think in some ways is a celebration of the history of the state. And I think that could be an impact across the board, not only for those that are making it to the temple opening. And similarly to hopefully a partnership with UTA, we have put quite a bit of investment over the several few years on biking and trails in our city that connect and keep our families here, right? That we can see kids and families riding bikes and getting to work or going to school safely in our streets, which I think is critical infrastructure for this event as well. So hopefully, while you are planning this event, which is not an easy task. I'm very aware. It seems like it's I don't know how you do it, but I'm excited to be part of that. That you encourage also people to take advantage of this infrastructure, and that there are other partners out there, bike organizations that could potentially be good partners on this and help some visitors use the infrastructure that we have built. That is. It might not be for everyone, but for some people it might actually be fantastic. Certainly, I like to take bikes to explore new cities myself, and we have great infrastructure to get to this site, and potentially could be a multimodal way of getting to it. So, including the bike and the trails that we have invested so much over the last few years. I will like to highlight also that those buses, hopefully we can get as sustainable as possible on them. We have, unfortunately, we share, some bad air days here, and as doable as possible. I know that's, there may not be enough of them available, but it will make a big difference to a lot of our neighbors that live in the area. I'm encouraged by the partnership. I'm encouraged by the celebration and how many people are on the table. I also would like to see potentially economic development in our city and the Downtown Alliance as well involved in it. There are invested heavily on the success of this city and the success of the small business owners that are really thriving and really fighting every day to make a living and to bring uniqueness to our city and through food and other amenities. So I would love any support that that this partnership could bring to the table.
That's Dee Brewer's organization, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. We actually have been meeting with Dee, and we have another meeting next week with him. So we're trying to make sure that stays coordinated.
Again, those are my thoughts. Certainly there's going to be cost associated for the city, so this fee certainly helps the enforcement pieces and all the other staff time that we're going to this is. We really need it to make sure that we can make good on the promises that we are building together. And the flow. The last thing I almost forgot. I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of questions from neighbors that we haven't even thought about. Like, for example, people with reduced mobility that may live in the area that for us, by the way, the blocks that our forefathers built are huge. Some of the largest ones in the nation. Might not be easy for them to move around. Things like that is like, what are we going to do to accommodate those neighbors with reduced mobility? That may actually be a simple thing that we can accomplish. I would love to see if there is a way of receiving feedback, a way that the community can send us their thoughts and maybe some great ideas or things that we didn't think about. I know that you guys are working as good neighbors, and I'm sure that there is good problems to solve there, and we can do them together. So.
Can I just mention one other thing that I don't know? We want to be good neighbors, and we don't want this is the church's open house celebration, we're calling it. We don't want this to cost the city anything. And so as we work through this, if we find there are additional costs that are going to be borne by the city because of this celebration, we're happy to have further discussions about that. We want to be good neighbors. I'll just mention two other things. I took notes on clean buses and some of these other things that you've noticed. The perimeter that we're going to put is going to be a perimeter that can be opened, so there'll be access for police and fire in case any of that is needed during that time period. So it's not going to be a permanent closure area. There'll be access, and we've been working with your transportation people on that. And then the other thing that you'll notice is it's going to have a secure perimeter that will allow us to do metal detectors, or they're high-speed ones. They're not the traditional ones like at the airport. These are really high-grade ones where people can walk through. We won't have to check bags and those kind of things, unless they're bringing a suitcase or something. But we won't have to check bags. They'll be able to come in. But once they're in the perimeter, we now don't have to do security for them to go into every single building. And when this opens, we'll also be opening the Lion House, the Beehive House, 2 new visitor centers. It's 1 visitor center, but there's 2 new pavilions there. The Relief Society building is going to be remodeled, and the Family Search Library. So we expect that there's going to be a lot of people spending a lot of time on Temple Square.
That's amazing.
And of course, you should have all received a save the date for the Salt Lake the Temple Square open house that's coming up this April. And we'd like to invite you to come. The visitor center, sorry. So we don't want that to overshadow the temple itself, but we do want to invite and make sure that people have access to that and begin kind of the momentum moving towards April of 2027.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Dugan.
Thank you for all the work and the planning and stuff. And now you think of this as this is not just Salt Lake City, the capital city, and the church. This is a state. And this is not just a Utah event. This is an international event. I mean, there's going to be people here from across the globe, and so you're I have to assume that you're coordinating different events and different things with the state on itself. I mean, the UTA gets its funding, the buses from the state. We may need additional state capital, additional security measures, transportation measures, street measures that really requires the state to be involved in the coordination. So I would really appreciate, when you have the state involved there, make sure that we're also part of that discussion. But I'm just assuming that you're already talking to the state on different elements of costs and different elements of safety and transportation.
Thank you, Councilman. That's a very important point. We've met with the governor, with the speaker, the president, the minority leader in the House and the Senate. We've also met with Representative Daley Provost, who covers this area, and Senator Plum, who's the senator for this area. We've tried to reach out to all of the elected officials so that they're aware of the plan and what we're doing. We're getting their input.
Thank you, Councilmember Petro.
Hello, good to see you. Your My Hometown organization is amazing. I always tell people that if everyone were LDS the way my West Side neighbors were LDS, we would all be LDS. They are a testament to what you all do as a community. I would really love it if we could ask you to deepen your investment with them so that they could be a support to our community. I would love to work with them on creating rideshare opportunities and informing neighbors of options for mitigating some of the traffic stress. When families need help getting across town to get their kids from school, I would love it if we have Adopt a Grandpa who can go and help, knowing that some of these families can't leave their shift work, their hourly jobs, to go get those kids with the increased traffic times. I would really love it if you would double down on the My Hometown and allow them to be a support to our West Side communities who will increasingly feel cut off from the rest of the city just by virtue of what we need to do here. Additionally, I want to double down on, I hope that we can create a directory of those West Side restaurants. It would be a shame if your people came here and did not experience Chunga's or Star of India. We have the best food in our parking lots at the Smith's grocery store on the West Side. I would love to be a resource to you in my private work capacity or my public work capacity to make sure that this is a positive experience. But in that vein, and this is a little more delicate, so please hear my heart if my words fail here. To come to an urban context is different. We're not a very urbanized state, even though most of us live in an urban center here. And historically, when people come from outside, the stresses of an urban experience, especially given the dialogues that happen outside of the church and outside of those of us who want to live as good neighbors, kind of dispose them to maybe not enjoying it. Urban centers are viewed as dangerous, as dirty, as other than what is virtuous. I would love your help preparing people to understanding that they're going into an urban context and making the most of it. Maybe a before you come kind of guide, something that says, you know, please prepare yourself to not park within one Costco parking lot from where you're gonna go. We're gonna be walking, and it's okay. Salt Lakers are really excited to welcome you. Something that says if you use that West Side parking lot, you might see someone experiencing a humanitarian crisis. And the city is aware of it and working on it, and the state is aware of it and working on it. And if they ever feel unsafe, here are the resources, and here's what the city's doing. But while we're really excited to welcome people to their spiritual home, they're coming to our literal homes. And even when we're able to put away like the political fallout of people complaining to their legislators, it still really hurts my heart. I choose to live in Rose Park. I'm raising 3 children in Rose Park. I think it is the coolest spot in all of Utah. And I really would love it if as people come here, whether they're going just downtown or they're doing the park and ride or they're taking the tracks all the way from Draper all the way up, that we prepare them to actually enjoy this. And I think, you know, when I went to the Vatican, I was prepared to see what was great. And look, Rome is not clean. Rome is not safe, right? But I was going to the Vatican. It had special importance to me. So I'm hoping people are predisposed and in a positive headspace. But I know that you and I can't control the narratives that get into people's heads. So if we could do something working collaboratively to make sure that people are prepared to feel safe, to understand what resources are available to them, but to also see the beauty of this experience first and lead out with that, I would love to partner with you in any way possible to do that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The success of this event is success for Salt Lake City. So thank you so much for being here and your willingness to listen to some of our thoughts and concerns from our neighbors. I'm looking forward to more interactions near future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So members, we need to go back to the agenda item, and we are a little behind, but important conversations happened today. We're going to talk about item number 3, but it was number 2 before. It's an ordinance regarding the fence and hedge height text amendments. We're gonna welcome Brian Fulmer, Council Policy Analyst, Diana Martinez, Senior Planner, Jason Bernstein, Associate Planner, and John Anderson, Planning Manager.
Mr. Chair, this item consists of 2 text amendments related to fence, wall, and hedge heights. We don't often have multiple text amendments being briefed together, but these are so closely related that they're being processed at the same time. The first amendment was initiated by the council in January 2025 and called for increasing the hedge height in front yards to 6 feet. It also would increase the maximum fence height in backyards to 7 feet. The second proposed amendment was initiated by the Planning Commission, and it would extend the maximum 6-foot front yard fence height in the M1 zoning district within the International Center to all properties in the M1 and M1A zoning districts citywide. With that, I'll turn it over to Jason and...
All right. Thank you, Brian. Okay. All right, I will be going over again what Brian explained and giving some more context to this petition. I will be specifically going over the amendment to change part of the ordinance regarding fence heights and hedges. Next slide, please. Last year, the City Council requested that planning staff research and draft an ordinance text amendment to update the Salt Lake City Code regarding fences, walls, and hedges. The council's motion proposed increasing fence heights behind the front of the house from 6 to 7 feet and increasing hedge heights along the side property of front yards from 4 to 6 feet, except for clear view areas. Based on that, staff drafted some proposed changes, and those will be covered in the next few slides. Next slide, please. Currently, the code generally allows for 4-foot tall fences, walls, and hedges in front of buildings and 6-foot tall behind buildings throughout most areas of the city. There are a handful of exceptions, including low-density residential zones that back up to commercial areas, public utility facilities, and recreational facilities, among others. There are no changes being requested to these exceptions. Hedges are currently covered under the fence and wall ordinance. Next slide, please. This item was heard by the Planning Commission. So planning staff did increase recommending the fence height behind the front facade to 7 feet. Planning Commission recommended keeping this fence height to 6 feet. Another change is the residential and non-residential standards for fences will be combined into a single section, as currently there is a lot of redundancy between those two. And so that portion will not be changing anything specifically beyond what's mentioned here. It will just be to clean up the code. All mention of hedges are proposed to be removed from the ordinance, from the fence ordinance, and will be regulated under the landscaping chapter. Our site distance triangle regulations will still apply. Next slide, please. One of the major changes in this text amendment is to, as mentioned, remove all hedges from the zoning code and just regulate them as landscaping. This does mean that hedges will have no height limit outside of site distance triangle areas and park strips. After review of the code, planning staff determined that the landscaping regulations are appropriate for regulating hedges. The landscaping ordinances require that landscaping not interfere with pedestrian movement, keep a healthy and maintained appearance, and be kept free of debris. Planning staff acknowledges the potential of front yards to become enclosed with hedges. However, hedges do provide needed greenery and live vegetation, have positive environmental effects, and generally do not create as much of a walled-in effect as solid fences and walls. Next slide. And this illustration just shows, in the solid green area, it shows where fences and walls are currently restricted to 4 feet, which will remain the same. And the hatched green area shows where they are currently 6 feet, or would be permitted up to 7 feet if council chooses that direction. Next slide. And this graphic just shows our site distance triangle regulations. These will still apply to all fences, walls, and hedges and will remain unchanged with this text amendment. Hedges and fences and walls are limited in height or prohibited within these areas to maintain visibility between drivers and pedestrians. Next slide. There's a couple of other cleanup changes being proposed. Double frontage lots, those are lots that have street frontage, 2 street frontages on opposite sides of a lot, 2 or more. The double frontage code is being cleaned up as there is a lot of redundant language, but those changes will have no effect on what is permitted. There was also a mention of hedges being appropriate screening for utility boxes. This language is being changed to just say landscaping. Next slide. Planning Commission recommended approval of the removal of hedges from the fence code to allow for unlimited heights, but did not recommend approving the rear fence height increase to 7 feet, proposing to keep it at 6 feet. And that is my proposal. I can take questions.
Councilmember Young.
I love the hedge solution. Bless you and thank you. I do think that, context, especially for Councilmember Carlson, who wasn't with us when we started this. I think one of the challenges is like, where do you define like a large bush versus a hedge versus, and there's just like a lot of that differentiation within that space. And so moving it in terms of landscaping and holding the same standard consistently, I think makes a ton of sense, provided that we're not impeding any sort of site needs related to people entering and exiting their driveways. This came up with one of the residents in District 7, mainly specific to the fact that that resident had chosen to build an ADU in their backyard. So they were also using a component of their front yard to be able to kind of create that traditional like backyard space. And so I'm grateful for the solution. You guys are the best. And I do think that it creates more clarity also in terms of compliance about when and where we're enforcing some of those earlier conversations. So thank you.
Obviously we are, hyper focusing on the MU light manufacturing, areas. I was hoping that the some of the work done on the fence height when we were talking about it a year ago also applied to residential areas. I think that was really my original intent, is to try to get the 6 foot to 7 feet, which matches with national standards for those that choose to go that high on residential side and back fences for our neighbors. So am I completely off, Brian?
That was the intent of the legislative action from the council, was to look at increasing that backyard fence from 6 feet to 7 feet. Correct. And that is what planning staff recommended. The planning commission didn't agree with that part of it and recommended keeping it at 6 feet. But of course the council is able to do what you see fit.
And I still feel very strongly about the decent residential areas. We are densifying. We have a lot of ADUs, coming up online. And I'm taller than 6 feet in the morning. But I think that there is a level of a need for privacy in our, side and backyards that many of my neighbors are asking. So I think that shouldn't be a strange request. And this doesn't force everybody to change their fences at all. This allow for, for those that are afraid, this will allow for those that want a little higher fence to be able to do it. I'm comfortable with that. Any other questions and thoughts? Okay. I'm excited to see this coming back to us. Thank you for the work.
So, Mr. Chair?
I do have a question that some neighbor brought up. Sorry, I almost forgot. Yes, go ahead, Brian.
I wanted to point out that Diana will come up next and talk about the proposed changes in the M1 zones. So this is the first part. She'll come up with the second part.
That helps. So an organization in my district brought up the issue of the fences for the front. What is the process for an organization like a community space or a nonprofit to ask for higher fences on the front of their yard, because apparently they're hitting a bit of a snuggle in there.
Yeah, so currently the ordinance does restrict that to 4 feet generally for fences. I know Diana's ordinance was looking at front yards, but mostly in the M1 zone, not those potentially MU properties I think this might apply to.
Yes.
There isn't a current pathway just administratively for someone to get a taller fence in their front yard. They could apply for a text amendment to change the regulations for front yards that could be aimed at potentially the MU zones, if that's the zone that they're in. But otherwise, there's not an administrative process right now to increase that.
And I'm interested, not necessarily for individuals' houses, right, but like for institutions, right, that they want to protect their building. It's a historic building in this case, or they are a nonprofit or an organization and they want to have a taller fence on the front, so it does make sense to me when I see the building, when I drive by it. But certainly there may be some issues there. So the option right now that you're proposing is requesting a text amendment, which will apply to everyone after that.
Yes.
So it will be a change in the code across. How will you narrow it down so it's only applicable to CERN? Is there anything similar to that in our code that only applies to, and I'm talking about the Art Castle. Sorry, I should but there are multiple organizations in my district that, are in the similar spaces.
Potentially, it could be narrowed to the particular land use on the property versus just universally applying to any potential land use. But I think we need to do a in-depth review of how it might apply and what makes sense.
And I think just recognizing that the land use, that once you change it, that fence will remain regardless of what that use is. And so if the use changes and goes back to like a residential use, how do you enforce compliance? Like, do you enforce compliance? Do you make them take out the fence, lower the fence? So that might be confusing. But would maybe another legislative intent to build on this legislative intent to look at it? I think the problem would persist for this organization because obviously we've seen how long it takes to do that deep dive into what the potential impacts are, but maybe it's worth looking at.
Yeah, and maybe what I need to do is before I'm ready to propose, another legislative intent is to collaborate a little bit with my colleagues here and make sure that we sort of understand the whole process a little better, and then coming back to you with some thoughts. Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Second part.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do not leave yet. One more.
Okay.
So this is the second part of the amendment. It does mix because the wording in the proposal would blend, so that's why they're connected. Next slide, please. So just to go back and reiterate what Brian was saying, in October of 24, the City Council did adopt an ordinance for a fence height increase that affected the M1 only in the Salt Lake International Center. This has come back as of January of 2025. The Planning Commission initiated this amendment today that we're talking about to allow that same fence height for all M1 and the newly created M1A zoning district citywide to allow the fence up to 6 feet. In August of last year, the Planning Commission voted to send a favorable recommendation to you for this petition, allowing that height increase for the M1 and the M1A zones to 6 feet, with an additional recommendation that states if any M1 or M1A zoned property is abutting or across the street from a zone that allows a residential use, then the property is restricted to a max 4-foot fence in the front setback. That was prompted by the discussion about residential properties along 7th West, between 800 South and 1700 South. Next slide. Sorry, I was operating my own. Thank you. This map is actually our old map. So as of July 8th, this body adopted the commercial and mixed-use zoning district consolidation. That took place on October 8th. So as of October 8th, 2025, this map is no longer. However, it does show, you can't see my cursor, but on the right side is 7th West. All of that gray is M1. And then the colored properties along that, the yellow and the pink and the brown, those are all residential properties. So that was what the Planning Commission was looking at, was the effect on those residential properties with that M1. Since October 8th, this is the new map. The purple is shown. Next slide. I'm sorry, I'm operating my computer. So sorry, apologies. Next slide, yes. So the purple showing is now the rezoned mixed-use properties, and those are MU6, which will have to have a 4-foot front fence. And the properties that you can see just to the north of the purple, that is still M1. So those colored properties to the west of those would still be residential abutting or across from. And then to the north, across from I-80, there is a couple of properties that would be affected in that amended proposal. And then likewise on the west side, the left side of the map, the west side of Redwood Road, there are some M1 still existing that would be abutting residential. Next slide, please. So currently, this is how the text reads, that M1 zoned properties in the Salt Lake International Center, M2 EI zoning districts can have that 6-foot fence max in the front yard setback. Next slide, please. And this is showing the circle, the brown circle is showing the International Center. And then next slide. This is the proposed text as recommended by the Planning Commission with that added wording that if it is abutting or next, across the street, excuse me, from, then it would have to be a maximum of 4 feet. Any questions?
That's it?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Is there any questions, council members? Okay, we're good. Thank you so much for, that was easy.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
At the risk of getting into a 6-7 discussion, can we just get clarity from the council on if you support, we think that you're supportive of 7 feet for the side and backyard fences, but can we just confirm that, if that's accurate? Looks like it is.
I think you.
Thank you.
That's good. Good direction. Thank you so much. Thank you for the joke. I needed that. This concludes the agenda items, but there is reports from Chairman Bashir. No reports here. Announcements from the Executive Director. No announcement from the Executive Director, and we don't have a closed meeting. So this does adjourn the meeting. Thank you, all of you, for your patience and the work. Thank you. Till next.
There are grab-and-go dinners.